Hello and welcome to Odds on Europa League Match Day 1. The second European competition starts on Wednesday, and we have games Wednesday and Thursday, and we have the best analysts to give you the best tips in this new season. Alain Valnegri, hello. Ronan Murphy, hello. We've chosen the best 8 games in this first match day. So hopefully we can enjoy some good tips and make some money this week. So please, guys, just press the like, subscribe, follow the video, and ask anything to Alan and to Ronan. And now let's go on with the show. And we start our tour around Europe in Portugal on Wednesday. Braga, Feyenoord. Feyenoord were coming from the Champions League, but they were knocked out by Fenerbahce. However, they had a really good start in the Eredivisie with a great manager, or at least a great player. I don't know if he's a great manager, Robin van Persie. And Braga 7th in Portugal with 9 points. Is it a great manager, Ronan, Robin van Persie, or just a great player, a great former player in this case?
Yeah, I think it's a wait and see at the moment, because obviously when he took over Feyenoord last season, they were kind of in the knockout stages of Europe, but they were kind of struggling to score at times. I think we spoke about it in the previews for those at Feyenoord that weren't scoring, and we thought that what Robin van Persie could bring to Feyenoord was goals, but he obviously wasn't on the pitch himself, so it wasn't really happening for him. So yeah, Braga, obviously they had a great kind of playoff round draw against Lincoln Red Imps. They scored 9 goals in that, but they only beat Sofia 1-0 in the second qualifying round. Feyenoord, they dropped down after losing to Fenerbahce. That's why they're in the Europa League, but they were able to win at home, but they were not as good on the road. And I think it's a match that will be close, and Feyenoord, they've scored in every game they played this season, 8 games they played this season, including a 3-3 draw at the weekend against AZ Alkmaar. My beloved Troy Parrott is still injured, so he wasn't involved in the goals in that one. But Feyenoord got plenty of goals. Braga, on the other hand, are struggling at the moment. They're 4 games without a win in the league in Portugal. So I do like the look of Feyenoord to win this one, but maybe a bit safer is Feyenoord Asian handicap plus a quarter, which is 189. So they could get something from this one. And Feyenoord, like I said, they tend to score goals. They've scored in all 8 goals, all 8 games. Like I said, they've scored over 1.5 goals in 88% of their games so far this season. That's 7 out of 8. Obviously, the 1-0 home win over Herenveen was the only one they didn't score twice in. So I think they can score twice again here. So I'm going for Feyenoord over 1.5 goals at 250.
Well, the Municipal de Braga is a unique stadium, Alain. We are used to see them in the Europa League especially, and Braga are kind of a specialist at home in Europe. It's not easy to beat in this, again, unique stadium.
Yes, Braga start really well the season in the playoff of in Europe in Liga NOS, but in the last 3 games only 2 points, and in front of rival weaker than Braga. Braga have a problem when they must to elaborate the football against Feyenoord. In my opinion, they feel comfortable, but Feyenoord play with in this beginning of the season miss something with the experience, but with the energy. Is a young team with a lot of talent. The system of Van Persie is clear. Is every player have his role is a 4-3-3, really offensive, with midfielder participate a lot of in the offensive phase, and I think Braga will be suffer the quality of Feyenoord. Feyenoord is already leader in Eredivisie, And when you are in that positive dynamic, I believe in that type of team. For that reason, I choose Feyenoord winning 𝐋𝐞𝐿 at 2.10.
Okay, you are both back in Feyenoord somehow. Braga to win and over 1.5 goals for Omoyoma, or both teams to score for Gerasimov. Thomas is also going for the Dutch team to win, and Roy is reminding us Alain's masterclass tipping on Marseille on Monday to beat or double chance against PSG. Later on, you will have our Ligue 1 show in the channel. And talking about Ligue 1, Nice playing against Roma, one of the favorites to win the competition. Is we don't have big teams this season in Europe, in the Europa League. And if we check the outright market, we have Aston Villa as favorites, despite their bad start in Premier League, 7.0. And then it's Roma 10, Porto 12. So we are talking about one of the favorites, Roma under Gasperini, winner of the Europa League with Atalanta. Roma is not playing well with Gasperini. We expected offensive football, Alain, but in all the games, only one goal per game at least. They won the derby against Lazio, and this is very important in the city. And Nice starting the season really poorly, out of the Champions League playoff against Benfica, and only 2 wins in this start of the season, in these 2 months.
Yes, but only 2 wins at home. Nice is a weakest team respect to the last season. I think that the owner Ineos have more the mind in Manchester and not already in Nice, and that one affect the ambition about the team. In the last games in Brest, I miss personality to the team, and 𝐿𝐴𝐧𝐧𝐧𝐞𝐜, normally his manager, build really strong personality team with character, with identity. And against Brest, we don't saw that. We don't saw that. Maybe it's only a trauma when they played away, because in the last 4 games away they lose. But now, if we check the last season, Nice is one of the poorest Europa League. I think that they're finishing the bottom, or the last 2 bottom. And I don't think a lot of things will be changed this season. I see in change a weakest team respect to the last season, and the objective is to stay in Europe via Ligue 1. Now, Roma arrive in Nice with ambition. Roma, since the beginning of the season, we don't saw 90 minutes with Gasperini model of play mind, but we saw, yes, something about Gasperini, the discipline, the defensive phase. Since the beginning of the season, Roma received only 1 goals in official games. They'll be able to win 1-0, and that one is important too, no? When you are not produce a really quality football, but you win, and that one is mentality. And Gasperini bring that to Rome, the solidity of the defense. And I think in the offensive phase, the team will be unlocked soon. I am really positive with that project. Roma really favorite, but Roma maybe will be take more risk, or Nice will be take risk. We will be see a game, a box-to-box game. For that reason, I choose the market of goals over 2.75 goals, odds 2.07.
Let's see if they unlock the offensive power, because we are not seeing goals. Probably 𝗀𝗵𝗿𝗀 is going to start this game, since he's on the bench in Serie A and Ferguson is starting. 𝗛𝗵𝗏 is injured and the team is suffering with this lack of quality. But also, Ronan, in the last years, we've seen Roma struggling away from home in Europe. At the Olympico is a safe bet, Roma to win, but away, they struggle.
Yeah, sometimes that's the big kind of obstacle of them maybe getting further in Europe. We often see them maybe get to the last 16 quarterfinals, but they're not getting any further, because when they come up against big teams on the road, they sometimes struggle. And maybe the only blessing in disguise perhaps is that Nice aren't necessarily a big team in this match, and Roma can finally get their shooting boots on. That's what Alain was saying, what you said yourself, that they just haven't been scoring enough, and some of the blame has to fall on 𝗀𝗏𝗿𝗀𝐻 obviously, and Evan Ferguson as well. He hasn't been scoring enough. He's been getting into good positions, and the fans seem to have liked what he was producing in the first couple of weeks. But I think the longer he goes without providing goals for Roma, the quicker the fans will turn on him. So obviously I didn't look him up as a anytime goal scorer, because like you said, he's not guaranteed to score in this one. I know he was quite sharp for Ireland over the international break, but he's still kind of looking to find his best form and maybe his confidence. But I think once that comes, you will see this Gasperini side kind of get more goals, look more convincing, and that probably will happen at the right time as the tournament goes on. So perhaps it's favourable that they got a game like Nice to start off, because I think Roma can win this one. You spoke about them being one of the favourites, and I love the Opta supercomputer, so it has predicted the Europa League too. So it says they have a 10.5% chance of winning the league, of coming first in the league phase, and their second favourites to win the competition outright after Aston Villa. There's a 12.8% chance they're going to win the entire Europa League this season. So I think a good start for them would put them in good stead. And yeah, Gasperini, he has the experience. He's won it before. He's been in finals before, and I think he can be the difference here. His kind of tactics and mastermind can be the difference here. He knows how to win. So I like the look of a straight win for Roma, AS Roma to win, 2.32.
Well, Roma also played the final. They were a handball away of lifting the trophy with Mourinho against Sevilla. I guess, all remember. This final draw is also possible for Omoyoma pass for David. Roma, one of the favorites. Betis, Nottingham Forest is the next one. Really interesting one. And Nottingham Forest, they didn't have the best start of the season. Also, it was not the best start for Postecoglou. Drew with Burnley, out in the League Cup, defeat with Arsenal. I guess Marinakis is not very happy with the first game, and we knew it was a strange solution, Postecoglou, because it's a completely different style from Nuno Espiritu Santo. Is the opposite for Betis, Ronan, since we've seen Pellegrini so many years with Betis, and we know that they like good football. That's why they make some stupid mistakes, as the goal they conceded against Real Sociedad. They are missing Isco, but they have a lot of quality, and probably a game between Postecoglou, I don't know his Nottingham Forest, but Postecoglou and Betis, we should see goals.
Yeah, that's the hope, that we can see goals in this, and that's what we saw obviously from Postecoglou in the tournament in the past. And he's actually, if you look at the Europa League kind of stats of managers who've coached more than 15 games in this tournament, he has the third best winning record. He's won 67% of his games in the Europa League. So maybe that is why Marinakis turned to Postecoglou, not for any kind of similarity in style to his predecessor, but maybe he wants to be European champions or Europa League champions, and maybe that's why he's turned to him. But obviously Betis have a kind of coach of their own who's been there and done that and kind of knows this. And if you look at the form going into this match, Betis is immeasurably better than Forest, because Forest 5 games without a win. They even lost to Swansea City in the League Cup, so it's not a good run for them at the moment. And Betis, on the other hand, they've only lost to Bilbao this season, and they've wins over 𝐿aves and Sociedad at home, so they've looked pretty good at home. They've looked good away as well, 3 away draws. So apart from that game against Athletic Club, that's the only kind of blot on their copybook so far. So you have to think that Betis are one of the favourites going into this match, and can win this match, despite the fact that Nottingham Forest, people think that they could be kind of a team capable of winning this tournament. And I think that's probably mainly because they're a Premier League team, and they're getting that kind of Premier League boost, kind of like the opposite to the Bundesliga tax. It's probably a Premier League boost, that people think that Premier League teams perhaps are better than they are, especially teams outside the top 5, top 6. I think, yeah, Betis, they've lost just one of their last 18 home matches in the league or group stage of the Europa League. So I don't think they're going to lose this one. So I'm going for another simple win. Betis to win at 2.26.
And historically, actually, Betis have been poor in Europe, Alain, but perhaps last season conference could unlock some creativity, and Betis could have a run in this Europa League.
Yes, no, Betis is one of the outsider, in my opinion. For quality, Betis, have the same quality like Aston Villa. In the offensive, if you value the technical way, Betis is amazing. Is amazing. The question is who defend in this team, and they're seeing Amrabat at the end of the mercato because they need that type of profile. Because when you're less offensive midfielder is Pablo Fornals, it means this team won the ball. Now, without Isco, there start to have some difficulties. We saw that, especially against Athletic Bilbao, Betis miss or need a world-class striker because it's a team create a lot. 𝐻𝐿 Hernandez scored in the last two games 2 goals, and maybe it can be give that type of solution. Now, Betis at home. Against a team in crisis because Nottingham Forest is in crisis, clearly. The last victory was the first journey in Premier League, out in the League Cup and in Premier League, except the game against Arsenal, but losing 3-0 against the West Ham with Potter in the bench is difficult to have that and there arrive to that. Now, it's strange because I think that they move really well in the transfer market. Nottingham Forest with Douglas Luiz, with Ndoye. Gibbs White is a very good player. I don't know what is wrong right now. Maybe it's Marianakis, but Marianakis we know him and no surprise. Betis really favorite in my opinion for the moment of the team, not for the difference between the squad and between Premier and Liga. And last season we saw Tottenham winning, and Postecoglou is the only manager won a Europa League without a shoot in the target in the final. And last season, I think we understand the powder of the Premier League in Europe because Manchester United and Tottenham do a really bad season. They are really weak in the Premier League, but in Europa League they arrive in final. It's the beginning of the competition, in my opinion. Betis will be win. I am with Ronan. Betis winning 2.26.
Okay, we don't have Nottingham Forest Panathinaikos in the Europa League. It would be interesting, Marinakis, president of Olympiacos, playing against Panathinaikos, but it's not the case. Anthony to score or assist for me. Roy Gerasimov is telling us this. No Isco, no disco. I guess, Tony, yeah, remember? Isco is injured. They presented, by the way, they unveiled a documentary about Isco's hard life after the injury. Imagine how he suffered. He's a millionaire with a beautiful wife, kid, but he got injured, and they unveiled a documentary about his life. In case you are bored, you can Google it and perhaps you can watch it online. In the meantime, on Wednesday also we have Freiburg Basel. Freiburg started really slow the season but reacted back-to-back wins, plenty of goals in their Bundesliga games. And Basel, they were the Swiss champions. Alain, we are used to seeing young boys in the last years winning the championship, but they've lost a couple of games recently. Is this Basel a competitive team, you follow the Swiss league?
It's a really young team. It's a team play with data now. They buy player and value the player and sold. Calafiori is the best example. Calafiori passed from Basel. And yes, they changed the philosophy. They changed the manager. Celestini go to the Russian football. They're seeing Magnan, former Werder Bremen player and former Lausanne manager. And since the beginning of the season, no, Basel is not the dominant Basel we known 10 years ago. And Shaqiri speak bad about Magnan and the management of Magnan against Copenhagen. Against Copenhagen, we saw the gap Basel have with the elite of European football. It's a special game because Freiburg is really near to Basel. It's a derby. A lot of people from Basel go to Freiburg to see Bundesliga game, and yes, it's maybe we will be see in the emotional analysis is a special game. But Freiburg arrived well because Freiburg start really bad the season. We saw against Augsburg, against Köln, received 7 goals in 2 games, 0 point. But they have a good reaction because winning in Bremen against this Werder Bremen stronger than last season. Good market signing 3-0, winning against Stuttgart. European team Freiburg recover his mother of play. Last season, Freiburg was fighting for the champions. Is a big team of Bundesliga for Basel. And normally, when Basel play against German team at home, they do good game. But when they play in Germany, I don't have the statistic, but I think Basel maybe win 1 of 15 or 16 game in Germany. And for that reason, I choose Freiburg winning. Odds 1.75.
𝐿𝐭𝐚𝐲 is going for both teams to score. Ronan, your opinion?
I am also going for both teams to score because Freiburg, although Alain mentioned the kind of slow start, and you mentioned yourself, Edu, that had a slow start to the season, they were still scoring in those games. So they've scored in all 5 games they've played this season. They scored 3 at the weekend. Like we said, they scored 3 in the week before. So they've scored 6 goals in their last 2 games. This is a team who are scoring a lot of goals. Basel, they've been scoring goals in all their matches too. They've only failed to score against Copenhagen in the Champions League playoff, which is the reason they dropped into the Europa League. It was 1-1 at home, but they lost 2-0 away. So I think this is a match that can have both teams scoring. Both teams to score, yes, is 159. Both teams to score has happened in 3 of Freiburg's last 4 games, and in 8 of Basel's 10 games they've played this season, because their season obviously started earlier because they were playing in the Champions League kind of qualifying path as well as domestically. So yeah, they've had both teams scoring 80% of their games, and Freiburg has had both teams to score a lot in their matches as well. And Freiburg, they are a team with the lowest chance of winning the trophy according to the 𝗲𝗿𝗄𝐿 supercomputer. And how that works is they run 10,000 simulations, and then they see who wins it in each one, and then they work out that Aston Villa obviously won 2,000 of those or whatever, and that's how they get 21%. But Freiburg have just a 0.5% chance of winning. But amazingly, in at least one of the 10,000 times they ran the simulation, Basel won it. So every team that's in the Europa League is capable of winning the Europa League according to the 𝗲𝗿𝗄𝐿 supercomputer. So that's why I'm not going to say Freiburg are definitely going to win this one. And my other bet is tying into the both teams to score tip. I think there's going to be goals in this match, so I'm going for total goals over 3 at 189 because the odds are better than both teams to score, yes.
Fair enough. And now we have the favorites. Aston Villa playing at home against Bologna. It's not an easy start. I don't like the odds actually for Aston Villa to win. It's only 1.8, especially after the poor start in the Premier League. It was not better at the weekend. They were unable to beat Sunderland, even if they played against 10 men. And Bologna, they are looking better than the rival. The Coppa Italia winners beat Genoa. I think they have a good team. They could be dangerous. They have Orsolini as a good player, and they were defeated this season only in Milan and in Roma. Ronan.
Yeah, if you look at the odds, Bologna to win 4.75 on the screen. Aston Villa to win the entire competition is 7. So there's not much of a difference between Bologna winning on Thursday night, compared to Aston Villa going on and winning the whole competition. So yeah, I think Aston Villa are remarkably kind of favoured by the bookies, especially given their terrible start to the season where they can't seem to score at all. Bologna are their joint third favourite at the moment, 11. But Aston Villa up there also loves them. Like I said, 21.6% chance to win the whole thing and 71.9% chance of making the quarterfinals. So, yeah, this is a team on paper who should be really good because they have great players. They're just not kind of putting it together at the moment. And you mentioned that Sunderland game, and Ollie Watkins had another brilliant chance to score, and he just couldn't put it away. And you kind of wonder, has the kind of sheen worn off Aston Villa a little? Are they the same Aston Villa we've seen in the last couple of years, or are they kind of coming to the end of that cycle that we see some teams do? So, yeah, this is a team that are struggling to score. They've only got over 1.5 goals in 50% of their games, but Bologna, even worse, 25% of their games. So this is not a match between two teams who score a lot of goals. Villa have only scored twice this season. Bologna have won 1-0 and 2-1 and lost 2-1 nils. So these aren't teams that are playing out high scoring games. And 0-0 in this one is 12 if we're going for a correct score and an absolutely terrible game. A draw would probably be safer. I'm not saying Aston Villa are definitely going to win or Bologna are going to win or it's going to be a draw. I think it's just going to be a low scoring match because that's what these two teams have served us up so far. Total goals under 2.5 is 183. And then slightly better than that is, as David is saying in the comments, both teams to score no. That's 191.
It's a great project, the one of Bologna, Ronan, playing Champions League last season, winning the Coppa Italia with two different managers, with Thiago Motta, with Vincenzo Italiano. Credit to them.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, it is kind of an onwards and upwards. And like I said, it kind of seems to be the opposite of the way Aston Villa are at the moment. Aston Villa are on the decline, whereas Bologna are on the rise. So hopefully, maybe they can do something here. It could be the start of something good for them in Europe.
Alain, I'm talking about Calafiori, by the way.
Yes, Montipas, yes, from Bologna. Yes, he's one of the most serious project in Italy. In my opinion, they have one of the best sporting director, like Sartori in Bologna. Sartori go to the champions with Chievo Verona, with Atalanta, and with Bologna. Not so many people speak about that outside of Italy, but yes, he is doing a really good job. Bologna don't win a trophy since 50 years, and they won the Coppa Italia. The last season was difficult at the beginning, and last season Aston Villa and Bologna played together. Aston Villa won, but it was in October. And Bologna this season to acquire the identity of Italiano in December. And from December, Bologna was fighting against the Champions League for a spot again. And at the end, maybe they need some deepness in the bench. But yes, it's a really good project. Right now, I am surprised to don't see Bologna score in the two games away, but he was in San Siro against Milan and at l'Olimpico against Roma. I think there will be scored for the first goal away. Against Genoa, there was a little lucky, but Bologna has strong offensive mentality. One of the most offensive team in Italy, without doubt. Italiano is really offensive manager. Maybe his football is horizontal sometimes, but the mentality is there. And Emery is the worst moment for Emery since he arrived in Villa Park. And how he can be go out? Maybe Europa League can be give a little oxygen to the team after that really bad beginning of the season, because the team is pretty similar than the last season. And the last season, we have big admiration for Aston Villa. Maybe Aston Villa was the nearest team to eliminate Paris Saint-Germain champions. And I don't believe the team can be lose his identity, his quality in a summer. And I wait a reaction. I wait goals for this game, and I choose the both team to score odds 1.91.
Okay, opposite tips here. Alain sees goals. Ronan doesn't. By the way, one of the guys who scored last season in this game was John Duran, now also playing this competition with Fenerbahce after his short spell in Saudi Arabia at the moment. Next game is Salzburg-Porto. Porto, one of the favorites to win the competition, with Francesco Farioli on the bench, former manager of Nice, for instance, also in this competition. 6 wins out of 6 games. Samu Omorodion, already 4 goals this season in the Portuguese league, and the odds to back Porto, Alain, are beautiful, especially if we take in consideration the poor Salzburg we have been seeing in the European competitions, in the Champions League, in the playoff, in the Club World Cup. It looks like the standards of the quality standards of Salzburg just went down and down and down.
Yes, it's the worst moment for Salzburg project, and we saw that in Champions. We saw that last season because no win the Austrian Bundesliga. Big respect for the Austrian football, but for a team like Salzburg is a really sad season. And when we check the squad, in the past we saw every time some 2, 3, 4 really young players, but with amazing talent. Right now, it's a little empty, no? And they don't signal good player. The academy don't produce so many good players, and when they are good, they go to Leipzig, and that one affect the project in Salzburg. They're lucky they can play in Europa League. In my opinion, they will be super in this Europa League because they miss experience and they miss quality. In change, Porto is really different than the last season. Farioli give identity to this team. Seeing Gabri Veiga is one of the best signing in Europe this summer, the former Celta Vigo player, and conserve Samu is important too. Is important too because Samu have an average of goal score really high the last season, and now he can stole some secret about the young too. And yes, I see a very good Porto. Porto win every game since the beginning of the season. Their one in the stadium of Sporting was the big shock in Liga NOS at the end of August. Until the last game, Gabri Veiga, I recommend to the people to see the highlight. Amazing game about the Spanish player. When I prepare the program, when I check the odds, I was really surprised about the odds for Porto winning. I think is a value bet. It's a value bet clearly, and I choose Porto winning odds 2.10.
Indeed, Ronan is, I think, my favorite odds in this show. Porto to win. Also, Jay or 𝐿𝐴𝐻𝐿 are going for this.
Yeah, I think it's hard to look past Porto on this one because, like Alain said, the Salzburg team, they don't have the superstars that were or future superstars that we've seen in the past. They've had so many great strikers come through, Erling Haaland, Patson Dakin, etc. They've had all these kind of players come through, and you thought on any day that these kind of young guys at Salzburg that they had signed, they could kind of cause problems for bigger teams in Europe in matches like this, but they don't have those players anymore. And perhaps it's just a change in nature of the transfer market, where the bigger clubs around Europe or the medium-sized clubs in the bigger leagues around Europe are kind of more aware of the kind of players that Salzburg were signing in the past, and they're getting them ahead of Salzburg. So, because of course you'd want to play in Serie A over the Austrian Bundesliga or whatever. So maybe that's what's happening, and they're kind of struggling to be the same project team, the same conveyor belt team they have been in the past. And they could struggle again. We saw them struggle massively last season. They came 34th in the Champions League last season. Their only win was against Feyenoord, and every other game was a defeat. And you wouldn't be surprised if they lost a lot of these Europa League games. That they're minus 22 goal difference was the worst of any team in the Champions League, even the two teams that finished worse than them last season. So this is a team that their project seems to be kind of really struggling at the moment. And Porto, yeah, Porto look a very sharp team. I like what they're doing at the moment. They're the second favourite actually to win the tournament with the bookies with 10. But so I think there is a good chance they could go deep in this tournament. So Porto 210 looks pretty good. But I'm looking at maybe other options if our viewers want to check them out, because we don't want to just be saying the same two things all the time, although we had both teams to score yes and no in the last game. So Alain and I aren't agreeing on everything. So yeah, Salzburg, they haven't won in their last 3 games. They've lost to Wolfsburg or AC and Storm Graz in their past 2 games, but 7 of their past 8 games have had 3 or more total goals. So this could be a match with goals in it, maybe against Salzburg. So total goals over 2.75 is 196. Porto, they've won every game this season, including 5 of their 6 matches to nil. I know 𝐬𝐭𝐚𝐲 is saying a multi-bet 1-0, 2-0 or 3-0 could be pretty good, but looking at who's going to score the goal for Porto, it's the one we both said, Samu. He only played 71 minutes at the weekend, so they took him off a bit early to rest him for this one. So he could score again. He has 4 in 5 games so far and scored in both of his last 2 games for Porto. So Samu, anytime goal scorer, is 263.
Great odds to back Porto. Salzburg didn't look good against Stuttgart. Jay is saying they don't stand a chance against Porto. Next one is Stuttgart, Celta de Vigo. Celta struggling in this start of the season. Both teams, actually, Stuttgart and Celta, both are struggling. Celta no wins with Borja Iglesias as the most dangerous player. I thought they had a good market, but again, they haven't found the victory yet in La Liga, and Stuttgart beat San Pauli 2-0, but also, Ronan, they've been far from perfect.
Yeah, I think Stuttgart are kind of looking again to see who's going to be the man to score all their goals, because they sold 𝐋𝐞𝐿 for a massive amount to Newcastle in the summer. So they're kind of wondering who's going to step up and score the goals. Dennis Undav was obviously signed last summer to be that man and never did it. 𝗵𝗵𝗏 was kind of his backup and has started this season, and maybe last season was a bit better than him. But they don't have an out-and-out goal scorer that's scoring lots of goals at the moment. But they have found other players capable of scoring. They've scored in all 7 games this season, so that is a positive for Stuttgart, and I think they can be confident going into this match, because Celta are struggling to win. Like you said, they've drawn their last 5 games 1-1. So a correct score 1-1. If you think it's going to happen a 6th time in a row, that's 780. I don't think that, but I thought it was worth raising anyway. This is Celta's first season in Europe since 2016-2017 when they reached the semis of the Europa League. They lost to Man United in that one. So they haven't been in Europe in a long time, whereas Stuttgart were in Champions League last season. They finished 26th, but they did pick up a few kind of impressive performances to beat Juventus away, for example. So Stuttgart maybe have more recent European experience, and that could stand to them. Celta haven't won at all this season. Before those 5 1-0s, they were defeated. So Stuttgart, I think they will be going into this match with a bit more confidence than they might have had earlier in this season, because even though they've had a couple of bad results, they have been scoring. They've been scoring in the Super Cup against Bayern. So I think they can go and win this match. So 187 looks particularly appealing for me in this one.
Well, only Borja Iglesias is kind of the leader in Alain for Celta. Not even Brian Zaragoza, for instance, one of the signings. They are not taking off yet.
Well, Borja is a guarantee because he plays with heart, he plays with passion. He's back to his home. Last season we don't saw his best version, but this season he starts really, really well. Now, I have doubt about Celta can play every 3 days. In Vigo, they had really bad record about the champions when they're playing in champions and they go to Segunda División. And I think the deepness of the squad are not to play 3 competition. How there will be managed Giraldez, I am really curious. He's a team with a lot of talent, idea of play really clear, but they suffered a big illness, the drowned cities, only draw in the last 5 games, and there was not so difficult games. Yes, Betis and Villarreal, But when they're played in Balaidos, normally Celta is really strong. And I don't felt this powder at home. And now the last times there was in Europa League was a good memory for Celta fans because they arrived to the semi-final and they go out and they don't deserve to go out against Manchester United, that team of Mourinho. And but the team is different. You have less quality. In change, Stuttgart changed a lot during the summer. I think that the fans of Stuttgart will be really upset every summer because he's one of the most data team in Europe. And when do you lose two players like Volten and Milo was the biggest, probably the most creator player in the offensive way, you must do rebuild another time. But I see some good input about Stuttgart, especially at home in the last two games, two victory, no goal received, 3 goal score. Yes, with balance. No, they still have Stiller, and that is so important. I'm really surprised he stay there, but I think Stuttgart is really favorite for this game. And like Ronan, I choose Stuttgart winning odds 1.87.
Stiller was even linked with Real Madrid, and Celta couldn't beat Girona, for instance, who are pitiful this season. They were held in a draw at Balaidos. Celta, by the way, they had a great chance in the very last minute against Man United in these semi-finals to qualify for the final. Jay, both teams to score is not bad. And the last game is Utrecht, Lyon. Utrecht lost back-to-back games in the Eredivisie. We are not used to seeing them in the Europa League. Is the opposite for Lyon, despite the economic difficulties. Alain, brilliant start of the season. All wins except the defeat in Rennes.
Yes, Utrecht arrived to this game with a lot of injury player and impact player, because in the middle they don't have Jensen and 𝗵𝗵𝗏 are two midfielder key in the balance and in the defensive way and in the offensive way. There are two players dominate the midfield of Utrecht, and we saw in the last two games Utrecht lose something, and they don't have 𝗵𝗏𝗏. 𝗵𝗏𝗏 is the winger, can be changed the risk to the game with his powder. Is a winger with a lot of talent for the assist, and with this explosivity he changed a lot of things, especially for the way Utrecht play. Utrecht passed 3 rounds in this Europa League to arrive here. Is his victory to arrive to the group. I don't think Utrecht have a lot of ambition. The injury are really heavy. Against Lyon arrive confident, because Lyon, in spite of the hot summer with in the TAS with the economic problem, Lyon still in Europe, still in Ligue 1, and still have a quality team, maybe 13, 14 titular, and maybe that one can be a limit in December or January. But right now we saw a good version of Lyon. They're able to win against Olympique de Marseille. They won in Lens, field always really difficult. But in the last game against Angers, I missed something about Lyon, especially in the positional attack, and is the model of play of Fonseca. I see a team really slow, and to win in Europe, there must to change that. To change the rhythm of the game. For that reason, I think Utrecht one play. We will be found a lot of space. Lyon have a lot of powder in offensive phase, and I choose the market of goal over 2.75 goals, odds 1.90.
Lyon to win could be another good bet, together with Porto to win. How to forget also Lyon game in Old Trafford last season, Ronan?
Yeah, that was a the kind of high point of entertainment perhaps last season. Maybe not for Lyon fans, but yeah, it was tremendous. 7-6, yeah, on aggregate. What a game! And we were sure that Manchester United were going out, but they did what Manchester United sometimes have done in the past, and yeah, they went along and won that one, and it was kind of hugely disappointing. But I know it was a tremendous performance for Lyon in the Europa League last season, but like Elena said, this isn't necessarily the same Lyon team that we had last season, because they were kind of forced to sell key names because of that kind of financial problems and to stay in Ligue 1. And so this is not necessarily the same team, but they still have produced some impressive performances or impressive results so far this season. They're kind of getting things done, albeit maybe not as effectively as last season, but they are kind of getting the job done in their matches. They've won 4 of their matches to 0 already this season from the 5 games they've played so far. Utrecht, like Elena said, their injuries have really kind of set them back, and any kind of long-term plans they have for the season maybe have gone out the window already, and they haven't been good in the last couple of games. They've had back-to-back 1-0 defeats, and as well as that, they've both teams to score no in the last 4 matches they've played. So this could be a match the opposite, but perhaps both teams to score no game. I'd like Lyon to win at 2-12, like you said. I think it looks a good bet here, but I'm going to go even further and say Utrecht aren't going to score. Maybe they'll score 3 goals, so Alain and me can both be right. So I'm going to say Lyon to win to 0 at 4.20.
Well, this is it for the Europa League games with a different level, I would say, from the Champions League last season, or even last season we had some big clubs in the Europa League, like the 2 finalists, Tottenham or Man United, but also Athletic, for instance. But some good teams, some good games. Hopefully we see plenty of goals next week. We have again Europa League, this time only on Thursday. So guys, it's your time to post your tips in Oddspedia and participate in our tipster competitions. There is a chance to win $1,000 with Oddspedia. There you go. You can see the leaderboard in September, and the record of our tipsters is very easy to use, by the way. And we have also rivals where you can create your tipster competition. You can create a unique one for the Europa League, or perhaps join an existing one. And now it's time for our safe bets. Ronan.
I like your sing-song intro there. Very nice. You should do more singing on this show. But my safe bet, I'm not going to sing it either. It's Feyenoord to score. So Feyenoord over 0.5 goals at 133.
Alain.
Freiburg Basel, double chance 1x.
For Freiburg in this case. Len, your aka?
Young Boys winning, Lille winning, Red Star Celtic over 1.75 goals, total 4.25.
Okay, Young Boys against Panathinaikos. And Ronan, your aka?
My aka is Feyenoord over 0.5 goals again. Roma, Asian handicap 0, and Lyon, Asian handicap 0, for a total of 342.
Okay, we were really good in the Champions League akas and bets. Let's see, the Europa League is tougher than the Champions League. We know it. But we will see next week. See you guys. Bye-bye. Thank you very much.
Ciao.
Bye.